Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Take What You Need with me, Kate. And today we're talking all about Samhain, Halloween, Day of the Dead, and the veil becoming very thin this week. So, what can you expect from this episode today? Well, firstly, I'll take you through the origins of Samhain, a little bit on the origins of Halloween. I'll touch on Day of the Dead and how this is celebrated across different cultures, and then I'll take you through what I mean when I say the veil is thin this week. Essentially, it's spooky season, so that's going to give you a little clue to what we're going to cover today. Then, once I've covered the origin of Samhain, I'm going to take you through some really practical steps that require no witchy experience, that are just some ways to harness the energy and honour the energy of this week. That'll also include some rituals and also some shadow work prompts too. And then I'll take you on to what we can expect from the energy of this week, what you can maybe expect popping up in your life, maybe some emotions you might feel, and maybe some little things that are happening in your life that you might want to watch out for. The key to this, though, is that this is not scary. This is simply light overcoming dark. It's transformation out of endings. Okay, so before we begin, as with all of my episodes, please start with putting your hands on your heart, maybe close down your eyes. We're just going to inhale fully right up through the nose, hold it there at the top, and then we're going to exhale slowly out through our mouth. Okay, we're just going to do that again. Inhale up through our nose, fully hold it at the top. Exhale out through our mouths, drop our shoulders, elongate our spine, wiggle it out a little bit. Okay, and now we're present. Hi, and welcome to this episode. As with all my episodes, take what you need, leave the rest, and let's begin. Let's start with the origins of Samhain. So Samhain is a Celtic festival that was traditionally practiced at this time of year. This time of year particularly is renowned across the world and across different cultures as when the veil is particularly thin. So what do I mean by the veil being thin to my non-witchy spooky friends? Well, what I mean by that is the veil between the worlds. So the space between the worlds, between the spirit world and the physical realm that we are currently sat in, is at its thinnest at this time of year. This means that it's a really good opportunity to reconnect and venerate and honour our ancestors. This is a space where we can almost touch them, essentially. Samhain became the festival at this time of year to honour that, and it was essentially a marking point of the next 6 darkest months of the year. It's an honour of autumn, and it's a veneration of ancestors. So often candles would be lit to honour the ancestors, altars would be built, harvest gifts would be given in honour and remembrance of ancestors past. Bonfires would also be lit in order to protect the energy of the communities that they were serving as well. It's a really beautiful festival, and it's really a festival representing the cycle between life, death, and transformation, and just that constant cycle. It's essentially a moment in time to recognize that light always overcomes dark. And when we honor our ancestors, we honor ourselves. Other examples of this in other countries are things such as Day of the Dead in Mexico, for example. Now, I'm not Mexican and I'm not going to speak on behalf of Mexican culture, but from what I've learned of Day of the Dead, it's the same sort of energy as Samhain, in the sense that it is honouring ancestors. It's marking the time when the veil is at its thinnest between the living and the dead realms. The reason I put the dates I have in the thumbnail for this video is because they are the dates of Day of the Dead. If you've done any research into Day of the Dead, you'll know that each day represents a different gift being given to honour different ancestors on their altar. It's really, really beautiful. I'm not going to go into it today because I'm not Mexican and it's not my thing to share, but I really recommend looking into it because it's a really beautiful celebration of ancestry. Another example of this being honoured within religions is actually within Christianity. So actually the 31st of October is All Hallows Day, which eventually turned into Halloween, where we get bonfires from, it's where we get pumpkin carvings from, it's where we honour the dead. And obviously modern days, we now like bring out all the spooky, gory outfits and things like that. But essentially, just those three examples are actually honouring all the same thing, which is really light conquering dark. It's about the cycle of life, death, and transformation. And it's really honouring the ancestors and where we've come from in order for us to move forward. It's also a season of being able to let go. It's finding wisdom in endings, which we can get from both the ancestors and from our own internal work. Okay, so how can we practically harness this energy? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a witch or I know everything about everything to do with Celtic traditions, because honestly, I don't. But let me tell you how I am honouring this energy and practically using this energy in my life for the betterment of myself and also to honour the people that have come before me. Because honestly, without our ancestors, we wouldn't be right here as we are right now. Even this face wouldn't look like it does right now if it wasn't for my ancestors. This is just a reflection. I am just a reflection of all their choices. And that is definitely something to honour and venerate. Okay, so practically, no witchy experience needed at all for this. How can we really tap into the energy of this season? Like I said, this season is all about life, death, transformation. So actually we can do some shadow work around those areas. So when I talk about shadow work, what do I mean? Essentially, I just mean some self-reflection. I mean shining a light on some parts of us that maybe we haven't looked at for a while. We just reflect, we see what comes up, and we just observe it, honour it, and move on from it. Okay, so this season essentially is asking us to reflect on how the year has gone so far. We're about to enter the darkest 6 months of the year. So write down in your journal, record in your voice notes, mentally just think of it. How has this year gone so far? What's worked for you? What hasn't? What's come into your life? What has left your life? What harvests are you reaping currently in this season? And what are you taking into the next 6 months of your life? This is the life part of the cycle. Now onto the death part of the shadow work prompts. What do you need to let go of over the next 6 months? What do you need to end? What has ended? And what wisdom can you take from it? What learnings can you take from things that have maybe left your life? And reflecting on your life in the previous question, what isn't serving you anymore? What can you just get rid of, clear out, make space? What needs to go in the trash? And then it brings us on to our third part of the shadow work, which is transformation. So once we've cleared all that space out, what intention do we have for the next 6 months? We now have space. We've identified the endings. We've reflected on the year. We now have space to decide where we're moving forward with our lives. What do you want from the next 6 months? What do you need from the next 6 months? Who do you want to be at the end of the next 6 months? And they're the questions that you need to ask yourself. And that's how you can really start to tap into this energy. You can also, if we need it and feel we need to be supported, work with deities and different goddesses within this season. And 3 of my absolute fave goddesses are linked to this season. So I'm really happy to share with you and for myself to tap into their energy because it's so powerful. So the goddesses that you could work with in this season are goddesses such as Hekate, so goddess of witchcraft. She is essentially the gatekeeper to the different worlds, so the realm of the underworld and the physical world. She's also the light bringer and a big fan of dogs as well, so She's my girl. I love her. The next one I'm sure you'll have heard of. She's called Persephone. She's both the queen of spring and the queen of the underworld. If you haven't read about her, I highly suggest you do. Her energy is wonderful, and she really brings the energy of both death and rebirth and that constant cycle. We also have the Morrigan, who is a traditional, more Celtic goddess. She also represents the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and I really recommend you reading into her as well. It's also Scorpio season, which is really traditionally associated with the planets of death and rebirth too. So you can see a theme here. There's plenty of different energies we can work with and deities we can work with. So you are fully supported by the universe to dig a little deeper into this practice. Okay, so that's some reflection on ourselves. That's how we can practically use that for us. But this is all about ancestors, right? This is all about us being this close to the spirits, being this close to the people that made us who we are. Now, there may be ancestors in mind that you might be thinking you want to honor, or maybe you just want to generically honor your past, the people that have got you to where you were that you may not know. You might not know their names, you might not know their history, but you know that there is a lineage of people that have brought you to this place. If that's the case, then I've got some ideas for you of how you can honor them, how you can venerate them, and how you can remember them. So firstly, really, really simple, and you'll have seen this in a million churches across the globe. You can simply light a candle. Light a candle, take a moment, take a breath, close down your eyes, and just set the intention that you wish to honor either the person you have in mind or simply your lineage, the people that have come before you. You just want to honor them and remember them and thank them for where you are right now. The next thing you can do is actually to meditate. So if you know how to meditate, you can simply sit down. You can put on some background music if you require. You can settle into it, deep breathe, slow yourself down and connect with the present moment. And then when you feel grounded enough, you can literally ask to connect with your ancestors, ask to connect with the spirits, and you can ask things such as, would they like to give you a message? Is there anything that they would like you to know? Or it can just be as simple as you just take that moment in your mind to thank them. Thank them for being here, remind them that you honor them and you remember them. A way to support this meditation and really connect with the spirit world is actually to drink a tea called mugwort tea. It's very traditional. It's actually a traditional remedy, but is now classed as a weed, as all things are. And weeds are just plants in the wrong place, right? But mugwort is a particularly voracious weed and it makes a great tea. So if you want to support this meditation with your ancestors and support that communication with them whilst the veil is thinner, I really recommend using mugwort tea, but only if you are not pregnant or trying to get pregnant. If you are pregnant, anything like that, please do not drink mugwort tea at all. Stay very far away from it. But if you're not, then this is a great way to support that meditation and that communication. And then we can also do some journaling if that's more your vibe and meditation isn't really for you. So there's a few things we can do with journaling to really tap into the energy of our ancestors, but also to honor and remember them. And the first one is free writing. So we can, again, sit down, take a moment, take a breath, and just let everything settle before you start writing. And ask out loud or in your mind to be supported by your ancestors, to be supported by the spirits around you. And what would they like to say? And just write. Whatever comes into your head, it might feel like it's your own thoughts. It might feel like it's someone else's thoughts. It doesn't matter. Just write and write and write and keep writing until you have no thoughts left. And then close your book, pop a candle on it, thank them for that moment and for their messages and walk away from it. I suggest you go and have a salt bath, maybe a shower, something cleansing, and then come back and reread what you've written and see if there's any nuggets of wisdom in there or anything that came up that you weren't expecting, and then really sit and reflect on that. Now, I appreciate free writing isn't for everybody, and I get that. So actually, you can do your journaling, but you can write a letter of gratitude to your ancestors. Now, maybe you have one person in mind. Maybe it's a grandparent, maybe it's a loved one passed, maybe it's even a pet, and you just want to write a letter of gratitude there. And that can be so beautiful. Or you can actually do it to your overall ancestors, thanking them for basically making the choices they made to allow you to be the person you are today, because that's really, really beautiful. So anything that comes up, anything you want to thank them for, any kind of personality traits or things like that, take this opportunity to thank them, because they will hear you. Okay. So they're the rituals that we can do to honor our ancestors. There's obviously a million more, but I'm just trying to keep it simple, practical, and relatively cost effective for you. So these are all the ways that we can do this and really harness the energy of this week so we can move forward. So what can you expect from the energy of this week in real terms? Firstly, I would expect quite a lot of quite lucid dreaming or really vibrant dreams. You may feel that you haven't been sleeping well, or maybe your dreams have just been so vivid. I'd really recommend writing them down, because usually they're messages, because the veil is so thin that it's really easy to deliver messages through our dream world. So if you wake up and you can remember your dream, maybe pop a notebook by the side of your bed and just jot down the key points or key themes that came up in your dream and reflect on what they might mean to you and what they might be trying to tell you. Or maybe even just pop into Google what that dream means, that scenario in the dream. We can also expect a little bit of spooky season. So obviously people are having fun. People are enjoying Halloween. People are enjoying Day of the Dead. It's a real time for remembrance. And with that can come up a lot of emotions. And maybe you don't even realize that the emotions are things such as nostalgia or yearning or loss. But those emotions can just naturally come up. And that can be coming from you, or it can be coming from the veil being thinner around us, where obviously we are celebrating our loved ones past, but with that becomes a sense of yearning and maybe loss on their part as well, which you may be feeling as part of your energy field. So just be aware that you might have moments this week where you feel maybe that you're yearning for something that you can't quite put your finger on. Maybe you feel a little sense of loss. Or maybe you feel bursts of happiness because actually they're so delighted to find you again. I find this with my pet dog that's passed. I just get bursts of happiness when I know they're around. So just feel into that and don't read into it too much. But it's reassuring to know that they're around us and they are there to support us. And then generally this week, it really is a reminder that this is an energy of remembrance, of reconnection with our ancestors. Most importantly, reconnection with yourself. This is a reminder that light overcomes dark every time. Yes, we are working with a period of 6 months of darkness. Overall, we will come back into the light. So take this moment, just like we do with autumn and we see the leaves dropping from the trees. Just take this moment to allow life to happen, to let go, to kill off, to say goodbye to the things that aren't working for us, and allow yourself the space that the energy of this season is supporting to allow you to transform into the next version of yourself. Thank you for listening today. I hope this has been really helpful and a practical guide of how you can work into this Samhain energy. I'd love to hear how you celebrate. I'd love to hear how you practiced any of these rituals and how they felt for you. So drop a little line in the comments and let me know. And yeah, happy spooky season.